Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Matt the Family Guy, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JP Mint, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best kept secret in education. You got it, international teaching. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the ITP podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting, and I have Kent the Cat Guy here.
Hey, JP Mint, I don't want to interrupt your introduction, but I just want to say that Greg the Single Guy is not with us tonight, but I want to dispel some rumors that have been going around the internet. Greg is not, in fact, an artificial intelligent being. I want you to know he's very real, and he will be very much back very soon. A big shout out to our co-host, Greg.
And today we are joined by three lovely women from all over the planet. So this will be very fun to try and balance the Brady Bunch boxes that we have on our screens. We have Caitlin dialing in from Australia.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi.
And we have Eloise dialing in from Mozambique.
Hi.
Hi, Eloise.
And we have Hannah dialing in from El Salvador.
Hello.
Ooh,
All right,
that's
Kent,
not
can you take it over? Because that was a lot of memory for me to remember all those people where they are.
Let's go around the dial. And Caitlin, we'll start with you. You were the first one to ring in. Then we'll go to Eloise. And then we'll go to Hannah. Could you give us the elevator pitch? You know, who are you? Where did you grow up? A little bit about your background. Just kind of give us a chance to get to know you a little bit. We'll start with
Okay.
Caitlin.
All right. Yeah, so I grew up in Western Australia in a small town here. And I worked initially, I went to school and studied journalism, and I worked for a couple of really boring newspapers. One was for building and the other one was a business newspaper. And I quickly discovered it wasn't quite for me. And my now husband and I took some time off and we actually rode our motorbikes around the world. And while we were traveling, we met a lot of interesting people, and the kind of people that we met in very random places tended to be teachers. So that really got me thinking about teaching and changing professions. And then, as we traveled, I did my teaching degree online and switch professions. So that's the short version of how I got into teaching.
Caitlin, I'm always
Fantastic.
curious how people can become teachers online. Can you let our audience know? And is that still a possibility, or sometimes the programs shut down?
Yeah, so I know definitely in Australia anyway. So in Australia, if you have a undergrad degree, you can it's now a 2-year master's, but when I did it, it was a 1-year diped. So you do all of your coursework and everything online, but you do your placements obviously in real life. So I did one of my placements in Panama as we traveled, and and a few back home as well. So it worked out really well.
That's really cool. So through a university back in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, excellent. Eloise, let's pivot up to you. Just a few minutes about who you are and give us a chance for our audience to meet you.
All right, I'm Eloise, but Hannah and Caitlin, they call me Wheezy, and I love it. It's a nice nickname. They're the only people in this world who call me this. They even gave me a cap with my name on it. I have French-Italian parents, but I grew up in Germany for the first 13 years of my life. And I come from a bohemian family. My dad was an artist, like a painter. My mom was an opera singer. And then naturally, I thought I should also become an opera singer, until my sister told me one day that my voice was horrible and I should think of a different profession.
Wow. The honesty of family.
Right?
Just...
So then I thought, the profession to do is being a stewardess, because then I can travel the world, what I always wanted to be. But then my aunt told me that's just being a waitress in the air, and crushed my dream. And then, you know what? I'm like, let's just be a teacher. And nobody said anything.
Hey, you found the right profession.
Some days teaching is like being a flight attendant on the ground.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, Ken. You make everybody happy.
Exits are
You show everyone to sit down a lot.
And sometimes there's a cleanup on aisle 6. Oh, no, that's a different one. So, Eloise, how did you get into teaching then? Did you go back to school, or was this a point where you could start school?
Well, you know what? When I graduated from high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and I studied in Germany. So I went back to Germany to study. And I was a teacher, loved it in Germany. But I realized quickly, I'm actually not German. Maybe I should go back to maybe my own country. So I went to Switzerland for a while, but I always had the itch, like, that's also not what I want. I always wanted to travel. I always backpacked. And then, I had a friend who told me about international teaching. I'm like, let's try it out. And then I signed my first contract, and I remember this guy telling me, Eloise, you see, once you sign your first contract, you never go back. And I was like, nuh-uh, I'm doing it for 2 years. That's it. And I'll be back.
Yeah.
And now here we are, almost 20 years later, never went back.
Yes.
Oh,
Got
that's
bit by
great.
the travel bug, and Greg always says that it's the respect. One of the biggest draws about teaching overseas is the respect you get both from parents, from your colleagues and administration level, as well as the students. Very often their culture, wherever you happen to be, is very pro-teacher. And that's one of the things that prevented me from returning to Canada, was that I just felt like we were at heads, at battle all the time. And overseas, it's like we're on the same team.
Yeah, it's very true.
Hannah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am English, but I grew up in the States. And my mum, I come from a long line of teachers on my mum's side of the family. And my mum, she actually taught in Kenya, and that was kind of the sort of seeds of growing up, knowing that you could work and live abroad at the same time. And so that's kind of what started me going. My first job was in Kazakhstan, and I was very young and impressionable, and I did not bring a coat to, at the time, the coldest capital in the world.
Wow.
So needless to say, I've learned a lot and lived in a few more countries since then. And I don't need a coat in El Salvador, but I definitely needed one in Kazakhstan.
Where in America did you kind of grow up?
I grew in Georgia, Atlanta.
Okay, so I'm detecting a bit of a southern
Atlanta.
accent now. Okay,
Oh, really?
that's fantastic. Well, welcome all three of you.
Okay,
Now,
so the elephant
you're
in the
not just
room
three-
is how did all three of you,
That's
how
right.
did all three of you meet?
You're not just the three random people we found on the street. You are connected. Who wants to start? Maybe Caitlin would like to start how the three of you came to know each other.
Yeah, so Hannah and I actually met first. We were both teaching in Malawi in Africa. And Eloise actually came in later to our school as the principal. So we all kind of met in Malawi, which is called the warm heart of Africa.
We have to
which
do
is-
hard signs for Malawi, because we love Malawi.
Yeah, which we miss Malawi. We really loved our time there. But we kind of met before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, our school went online, and then unfortunately I couldn't get back to Africa after the pandemic. So we kind of all ended up moving to different countries, but we still wanted to work together. So we started a project together, which has become Math Resource Platform. Yeah, we're now across the globe, but still managing to work together, which is amazing.
Eloise, how did you? So Caitlin and Hannah, you met each other first, if I heard correctly. Eloise, how did you enter the picture?
You know what? So as Caitlin said, like, I was their principal. And you know, when you meet those people and they're full of spark and sunshine and energy and positivity, that was like Hannah and Caitlin. You know, we would have dress-up days and they had the coolest outfits. They were always full of fun and their teaching was amazing. And I think, you know, when we were all split up, it was very much like, how do you stay in touch with people who are so outstanding, who really touched your heart? And I think it all started with like a dream. Like Hannah and Caitlin had this dream of like, if we could just make teaching better, if we could just help teachers, imagine, right? And they talked about like doing Netflix for education, just like, you know, like you in Netflix, you can zoom through like movies, and with this idea of like, imagine if you could zoom through lessons. And, you know, and then one day they just said, Eloise, you want to work with us? We're like, yeah. So we have this dream of why not? Let's just follow our dream. So that's how we all stay connected.
Now, I do. Sorry, JP, for jumping in one more time. When you talk about dress-up days, does that mean the whole school dressed up or just the three of you?
Oh, yeah, it was pajama day, but it was just us.
Again, the whole school, just to clarify.
Oh, yeah. We know.
How did you guys discover? So you guys are all very interested in education, how to get the word out there. How did math become the focus for the three of you?
Well, I think math is such a divisive subject with kind of everyone. You can talk to anyone and they're like, oh, I love maths at school, or I hated maths, or I'm not good at maths. And I think you can ask anyone at any age and they have an opinion about maths. And I feel like in the classroom, if you ever have a student come in who's like, I don't like maths or I'm not good at it, I was like, my goal by the end of this year is you are going to love it. And that was kind of, Katie and I are quite competitive people, not with each other, but we would be like, we're going to make this lesson amazing. And then we would be like, well, how can we make it more amazing? And so it was kind of, for us, the goal was always to make kids either be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize this was maths, or when are we doing maths? I can't wait to keep going. Or so that was kind of, because we kind of fell in love with it, it was trying to spread that enthusiasm to other students and then parents and so on.
I always liked starting the year off with a math game and not telling the kids, like, now it's time for a math lesson. And kind of at the end of it, casually asking, like, who likes maths, who doesn't like maths? And then just dropping in, do you know you've actually been doing maths for the last hour? And the kids would be like, what? Yeah, it's amazing how they,
And so
yeah,
can
like
I
Hannah
ask,
said, it's very divisive.
Is this
Sorry, go ahead.
platform intended for teachers or platform intended for students and parents? Because I thought I heard that.
Yeah, so it's both. The big dream is both. At the moment, it's aimed for teachers on how to make maths more engaging and also to help them ask deeper questions, get students to feel like they're supported, but then also challenged at the same time. So at the moment, our goal is to work with teachers and help teachers create more engaging maths lessons and get their kids excited. And then the big goal is that eventually it becomes students and parents. But one thing that we've learned is everything takes a lot longer than one realizes.
And how long have you been working on this project? What's the scope of it so far? How successful have you been? Eloise, do you want to jump in on that one?
So really, I mean, we have been working over 3 years now on this project, right? And I think it started always this idea, and then, we have this idea. I think we didn't know. We thought like, hey, we're going to start working on it, and 6 months later we're done, and then we're good to go. And here 3 years later, right? And I feel like officially we launched like in October last year. Like we went to the ASA conference, we presented our project. And I think, we did a lot of work with the ASA community. We did a lot of workshop with teachers on math. And I think it gave us so much information about what teachers are actually challenged with. And we really wanted, what Hannah said, we wanted to support learners, but we also wanted to help teachers to be different, to be able to do differentiation without spending hours and hours of time. So I think over the 3 years, it started with a small idea, and little did we know that, now we need to protect our ideas. And what does that mean? And trademarking, and we need co-founder agreements. And before we knew it, we felt like we were educators and we had to do a business PD, and we are not business people. So I think it's just this 3-year journey has been definitely a big learning curve for us, because I think we started with math education. That's our passion. But we learned so much about how important connections are with other educators. I think our platform really increased in quality, just having teachers talk to us, teachers trying it out, and being like, this works. And can you also do the scope and sequence document? And can you do assessments? And it sparked a lot of great conversations, which wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have this international community. So, 3.5 years later, here we are, still doing it so much.
Hannah, sorry, JP, I don't mean to just jump right in over you. Do you want to jump in, JP? You all right?
No, it's good.
Hannah,
Good.
what are some of the next steps? You guys launched it in October. You presented at an ASA conference. It's up and rolling. When you guys get together and chat, what would you like to see happen next?
So next is just trying to grow our community and try and reach out to as many teachers as possible. And so we're learning about marketing. So what's great is like as a teacher, you're a lifelong learner and we're learning a lot of new things all the time. Katie is like our marketing guru. She's the techie one. She knows all the bits and bobs. But yeah, the goal is just to try and reach as many teachers as we can and connect with them. We keep talking about having like an awesomenicity community. And I think whenever you talk to teachers, if you share burdens or challenges or successes, it makes you feel like you're like, oh, I've been struggling with that as well. It makes me feel so much better that someone else also has that problem. Or, wow, that sounded great. Try that. So kind of building our customers, but also kind of building a community of teachers.
So you've hinted at it, but I want to outline the name of the website and the name of the platform is Awesomenicity. So awesome and then NICITY.com. If you wanted to follow along, listeners and viewers, jump right on to the website. It's very colorful, as I had hoped and anticipated before I got in. And it sort of has a marine theme with, I'm not sure, very good. Is that a salamander or a...
Wait, he's kind of Ziggy the Chameleon. It's just
Ziggy the Chameleon. Okay. But yes, it's beautiful, beautifully done. Who did the graphic work on that? Was that one of you three, or did you hire from outside?
Yeah, we hired a graphic designer for that. It was kind of ideas. She had a really hard task ahead of us because we were like, we want it to be really bright, but we want a diving theme. We'd like a chameleon in there too. So I think the chameleon, obviously he's not diving, he's surfing along there, but he was kind of a metaphor for education and constantly changing and evolving. And also, we just wanted to put as many colors on our logo as possible, so we were limited with our animals.
Very beautiful.
Limited with your animals. Hey, have you so far funded this yourselves? Do you have some grant money coming in? Is there a pricing tier on the website? How do you keep this thing going from a financial point of view?
Yeah, so on a shoestring is how we keep it going. so Hannah and I are full time with it. Eloise is still a principal in Mozambique. So yeah, Hannah and I are full time on it. We self-funded it, so we used our limited teacher savings and saved up. We kind of wanted to do it all ourselves because we wanted to make sure that we weren't compromising and that it was everything that we wanted for teachers. So yeah, at the moment we're just growing, and hopefully we will get to the stage where all three of us will be on board and we can continue to work together and create cool things.
Eloise, let me jump up to you. I'm going to ask each of the three of you just a little bit about the math world in general. I've been teaching for about... It feels like... We good? Feels like the internet glitched there. Can you hear? Oh, good. We'll cut that out, hopefully. We'll let Greg do it. He's not here tonight. Eloise, my question to you is this. I've been in the business for about 20 years. Is there a bigger need now for a project like this than ever? Or is this just something that has, always needed no matter when and where? Is there something special about now that we need this as teachers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Ken, because I think really, I wished I had that when I was a kid, right? Like we were taught math has one right answer. Everybody's doing the same thing. You either get it or you don't. You're born smart or not. That's it. So I feel like the answer is everybody would have always needed it. But right now, I think we talk so much as educators about inclusion, supporting all learners, removing the barriers of learning. And I feel like, we felt like this is really the time to do it. We talked about why we did it was because of online learning, but it was also being in the classrooms and seeing how teachers you have 20 learners in your class and 20 different levels, or you have 10 different levels. And the question is how do you plan for everybody? How can you support everybody? There's not enough time in the day to do everything. So I felt like we wanted to support all learners. Inclusion is important. Diversity is important. But this idea of but how do we at the same time support teachers? And I think, what we find is when you use the lessons that we design as a teacher, if you use it just a little bit, you actually grow as a teacher because it shows you how to plan lessons in a differentiated way. It shows you how to ask open-ended questions that promote deeper thinking. And I feel like that's what we wanted to do, to empower teachers and learners at the same time.
Yeah. Wow. Hannah, let me put you on the spot for a minute. Hannah, is there a person sort of in the teaching world or the mathematical world that you really look up to that's on this project. I don't want to sort of make this sound like a quiz question, but when you look out at people who care about this profession and care about mathematics, is there someone who stands out for you?
The big inspiration to us is Jo Bowler. I think she has shown that maths isn't numbers and right answers or wrong answers. It's actually incredibly creative and there's artistry in it. And I think she is a huge inspiration to all of us into how we've planned our lessons and how we just think about designing. If there's an objective that needs to be hit, how can we design it in a creative way or in a way where students are kind of their own teachers, like inquiry based, so that students kind of get there on their own. We're the guide on the side and we're pushing them. But yeah, I would say Jo Bowler is a huge inspiration to us. We do talk about her all the time.
Well, let me finish going around the horn here, and then JP, I'm going to let you jump in. Hey, Caitlin, let me ask you kind of a tricky one. I was listening to, we have sort of a sister program, I would call it. It's called Educators Going Global, and they just had Michael Voller. Sorry if I missed his name up. And he's an artificial intelligence specialist. And he talked a lot about sort of what the Khan Academy has been doing with Khan Mago and some other ways of using artificial intelligence in mathematics. Is this something that's piqued your interest, Caitlin, or is this something that, you know what, we're kind of not going that route and we're focusing on the very human aspects of mathematics?
Yeah, I think at the moment we're focused on the very human aspects, like you said, especially because we're designing our lessons with like conceptual based learning and inquiry and problem solving really at its core. And it takes a lot of kind of creativity and thought that goes into it to design lessons in that way. I'm sure AI will get there eventually, but at the moment, it tends to be more of that rote style of question and answers. I'm dreading the day they end up putting us out of business. But yeah, at the moment, like everything
I'm going to be honest. Caitlin, I don't think that there's ever going to be a day when artificial intelligence replaces the heart and the soul of the teacher. Now, 2 years from now, when there's an artificial intelligence doing this podcast in my place, I might have to apologize for that statement. But in my mind, there's never going to be a replacement for the people in our business, like the three of you.
And and that's why teaching is so special. And one of the things that I miss most about being in a classroom is those connections that you form, especially we're all primary teachers. And I feel like because you're with the kids all day for the whole year, you really become this little team. And I think that's something in education, and especially in lessons when you're designing it, that can't really be replaced, that the HI or human intelligence. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, who is your ideal user on this platform? Do you have a whole range of people, or are you finding that more and more your clients are coming from a particular background?
Do you know, that's such an interesting question, because when we first started designing it, we thought it would probably be teachers newer to the profession. But one of the most amazing things happened. We had a teacher who we actually had worked with. She started using the platform, and it was her very last year of teaching before she retired.
Oh, wow.
And she loved it. She had so much fun with it. I mean, kudos to her for being that flexible and trying something new in your last year. But yeah, we have a range of different teachers using it. And as Eloise said, we really tried to design it so that it helps you grow as an educator. You can kind of save time, but you're not compromising the quality of your lesson by getting something that's already done for you.
Mm-hmm. And I think we also had this idea that no matter if you have all those fancy manipulatives and place 10, oh my gosh, base 10 blocks, right? We design lessons that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can still have really awesome lessons. Because, we love Malawi, right? I think we visited Malawian government schools. We know what they have. And we're like this idea of how do we design lessons that can be used anywhere in a government school in Africa, as well as in a fancy school, international school? And I think so the way we planned the lessons, like you can really do it without any fancy manipulatives because you can use sticks and, we talk about noodles and all those little things. And I think that was the idea. It's really for anybody who just is looking for like really inquiry-based teaching.
Hannah, did you want to add on to some of the statements about AI and about younger teachers, older teachers?
What's interesting
like?
about, so we are our resources online, but it's really about interacting with face-to-face. So you get the ideas. We have slideshows that a teacher might project, but the whole goal of our platform is to get students to interact and work on that like collaboration, cooperation, working with people that you maybe feel like you can't work well with. And that's kind of the goal of our lessons, is to kind of, even though they are virtual, they're really more interactive and human face-to-face than anything else. And I think the beauty of it, without us even realizing it, a perfect customer or teacher could be anyone who's a primary school teacher who just wants to get some exciting lessons or is like looking for a new way to do something, like the teacher that Caitlin mentioned who'd been teaching for years and years. By trying out our platform, she suddenly got new ideas from using our lessons. So kind of like the ideas that we're trying to inspire anyone who wants to come check us out.
And so I also have a question about the platform in conjunction with set curriculum. If a school already has a set math program or a set math curriculum standards, how does this blend in with what they already need to use? Is this something that is that can be searched? Is there sort of a contents or where they can search specific themes or topics that they're looking for?
It works exactly like that. So on our website, we have little folders that have all of the topics. So they might be place value, addition, subtraction. And then we also have what we call scope and sequences, but might be called medium-term plans or might have a different name depending where you are in the world. And we have designed those scope and sequences. So we have links to Common Core. We have links to the Australian curriculum because Caitlin's in Australia. We have links to the UK national curriculum. And then we all in Malawi, we worked at an IB school. So we've kind of created a curriculum that would work for IB schools around the world. And the idea is that once you're on our platform, you could either go to the scope and sequences and get direct links to lessons and their objectives, or you could search, I need to do addition problem solving 2-digit numbers, and it will bring up some lessons that will fit that objective.
Is it, it's still fairly early in the project. If I am a teacher out there, I see you on YouTube, I see you at a conference, if I'm signed up to you or consult with you, is it too big for you to still meet with the clients, or do you still get to roll up your sleeves and work with teachers on a daily basis?
Yeah, so we actually hold free monthly webinars, so we interact with teachers that way, which is awesome. And yeah, also like you can shoot us an email, we'll get back to you. We're not a huge business.
And we love meeting people. I think the more teachers you meet, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
The personal connections are really important. I think we're always excited to hear, like when people sign up, we often follow up and be like, how's it going? What feedback do you have? Because we're still like a starting business. And I think Hannah talked about building that community. And you do that by having those ongoing conversations. And I think that's what makes Awesomeness special. I think it's a very personalized kind of project.
And so my question is, how do people reach out to you? Is it all through the platform, or do you have some kind of external like Instagram or Facebook page or something? How can people reach out to you, whether they're on the platform or not yet on the platform?
So you can go to the website and there's a contact us section there. You can email us. We also have LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. So lots of different channels.
We post a monthly newsletter on LinkedIn, and it's really like for anybody who wants to read about math or get new tips and tricks for their classroom. So I feel like we're getting a lot of like tracking through that too.
Yeah.
So we'll take all those points of contact and put them in our show notes so that people can go and sign
That'd
up
be great.
for the various newsletters and YouTube channels that you have. Thank you so much.
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all four of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITPXpats. That's with an S. ITPXpats is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show.
Yes. Thank you.
So we're coming to that point because we're three of us. I really do love our two questions that we always ask our guests. And because we're 3 times 2 questions, it'll be, so for our listeners and viewers, this is a little early, but I want to dive into, in all your travels, have you police stories? And if not, there's also like a kind of a custom story or something like that.
Notice that JP Mint took a look at the three of you and said, you know what, we better give a little extra time for those police stories.
So we'll start with Caitlin signing on first. Caitlin, have you got a police or custom story that you could share?
I have a couple of police ones. I'm just trying to think which one.
We'll save some of those for Patreon.
I did accidentally get arrested in Tanzania, my husband and I. It's quite a long story though, so I'll give you the very cliff notes of it. It was coming back across the border from Rwanda, and ATM wasn't working. We didn't have any money. We allegedly got caught speeding, although we got shown a photo of our car with 70 written over it. And we had a 100 series Land Cruiser, and the picture, we were behind a truck going over a speed hump. So for any Land Cruiser drivers
and
out
just,
there.
so you were Dukes of Hazarding over the speed bump, I take it.
Well,
But,
how did you? Yeah.
Yeah, so because we didn't have the money to pay, kind of escalated quickly. My husband got ripped out of the car, and the sergeant of the station jumped in and drove the car, did big mad driving, pulled it into the police station. We got put in a cell, didn't really know what was going on, and then they were like, we're take you to the village that has an ATM there and you can pay your fine. So I got taken in the police car. My husband drove with a police officer in his car. Yeah, this is the short version. So anyway, look, we got the money out, but then we got taken to court because the policeman said that I called him, I said I called him stupid. He had this thing, it was like a printed out document of things we had allegedly done, and then in pen it had added to it after that I called him stupid, which I thought was really funny, because if you were going to insult someone, calling them stupid is such a weak
Feels pretty mild
word to you.
compared to what the word JP Mint uses.
Yeah. Already thinking of all kinds of things that I would be calling this guy.
That's what I thought too at the time. I was so annoyed by that stage, but I didn't use any of those words.
Wow.
Yeah, so we ended up having to surrender our passports and all the paperwork for our car and everything. They let us out on bond overnight to go to court the next day. And my husband, he's a real people person. He's really good at. So he was like, well, I'm not just going to sit here. I'm going to, we were in this little village, knew no one. And he walked outside and he's like, who might know a lawyer? And he saw this guy walk past with a gold watch on, and he's really smartly dressed. He turned out to be the prosecutor. So,
Oh, shoot. Well, I was going to say, what luck? Oh, no, that's the other guy.
Well, maybe he helped. The prosecutor, was that a fruitful conversation with the prosecutor?
So he was actually the aide to the prosecutor. So we had a good conversation with him. He talked to us. He told us what to do. We went in the next day. We sat through a big line of people going into court, coming out, going in. End of the day, we finally got our turn. And the judge, he was really lovely. He was almost kind of coaching us on what to say. At the end, he kind of said, is there a reason, like, you shouldn't end up in jail? Is there anyone that relies on you, back home? So me taking the hint was like, my parents, I send them money each month, like they're ailing, like, later on really thick. And my husband, who is terrible at lying, he's like, nudging him, and he just kind of had a measly excuse.
He's like, yeah, me too.
He was like, what she said, but I'm really unable to convincingly do it. But yeah, in the end, we got sentenced to a year in jail or a $30 fine. So we were just like,
here's proportion $30.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's, if you don't have the money to pay your fine, you spend the year in jail. So we were like, here you go, start the car.
Wow.
You're out of here. So we actually
That
ended
is
up
harrowing.
driving at night after that, because you get stopped
You
less.
can only imagine if you were actually doing something super serious, what would happen? Because for something
Oh my God.
that's so made up, as you say, you're going over a speed bump doing 70, but can you imagine if you had some kind of contraband in the car, or if you had unwillingly done something that was quite serious? Wow.
Yeah, well, it just makes you it just showed us how alone we were there, and we were like, oh, we're actually in a fair bit of trouble now. But it was quite funny after that. I did get pulled over a few more times, but one time was like at a checkpoint, and he was searching the car, looking everywhere he could for some kind of, thing I did wrong. And it was 2:00 in the morning, and my husband was pretending to be asleep. He thought that would make the situation better. The cop shined his lights in, and he saw that I wasn't wearing any shoes while I was driving. And he was like, aha, you've committed an offense. And I was like, oh yeah, what's that? And he's like, you're driving without shoes. Luckily, from our arrest, they actually give you a fine, and it has the list of offences on the back. So I was like, show me the offence on there. It got settled for a bottle of soda, but yeah, I thought that was anyway.
I told you there wasn't going to be enough time for all these stories.
So that was the shorter version.
All right, Eloise, have you got a police story for us and our audience?
I do nothing like Katie's story, but I think, I felt like we lived with police. Like I felt like in Zimbabwe, we were in Zimbabwe during those really hard times, Mugabe times, when there was no money in the country, there was no food in the country. We had to hire a runner from South Africa to bring us milk and flour and all those things. So because there was no money, no dollars, no nothing, the police in the country wasn't paid. So what they did, right, they would just stand on the street and stop every car and pretend you were fined and you need to give them money. That's the only way they could survive. So, we got pretty used to it. Like, I think we learned all those little tricks of, like, how do you get out of police stops? Because you can't keep spending money. Like 5 times a day you would get stopped in the city. So we went on this long trip, it was a 4-hour drive, and we got stopped, I think, 13 times in those 4 hours. And every stop, they're like, you speed, you must pay this many dollars. And if you don't want to pay, you have to go to this. So we always paid. But at a certain time, we ran out of money. And every time you meet a women police officer, the one ticket out is to talk about children. Do you have kids? Look at my kids. Oh, you cute. All right. Then we can go bye-bye. And normally you get out of any fine. But man, to talk to policemen, that's a little bit harder. So we spent all of our money. By the 13th police stop, we had no more money. We gave out all the sodas we had in the car. So we had no more Coke, no more Fanta. We had nothing. And there's this one guy, he stops us and he's like, so he didn't even fine us. He just said, do you have something for me? Anything? And we just like, we had nothing left. And he's like, okay, just go. And we were so perplexed about like, he was just not even embarrassed about being corrupt. He was just like, I'm getting right to the point. I'm stopping you because I want something from you. But then we were so grateful because he was so sweet and let us go because we already gave everything. So that's my big police story.
And that guy learned to move ahead on the highway so that he
In
wouldn't
the
be the
line.
last line. He's like, I got to move up the line, be about halfway
Go
through.
closer to town. That's right.
Wow. Hannah, we're looking forward to yours. Maybe something in El Salvador. I don't know. Do you
Well-
have anything from there?
Touch wood, I haven't had any problems yet in El Salvador. But I was leaving a party once from in Malawi, and I was doing dry January. I was stone cold, 0% alcohol, and I was driving with my boyfriend, and we came across a checkpoint, and the policeman is like, "You've been drinking. That is illegal." And I was like, "No, sir, I have not been drinking. I'm doing dry January. Let me tell you about it. I'm on a date."
Let me tell you about it.
And he was like, "No, I can smell it on your breath." And I was like, "No, I have not been drinking." And he said, "You are getting belligerent. This proves you've been drinking." And I was like, my boyfriend at the time, who had been drinking, leans over and he goes, "I've been drinking. She hasn't been drinking. We should be fine." And the policeman walked over to go talk to my boyfriend because he thought he was the mature person in the car, and kept saying how I was belligerent and I was clearly drunk. And so my boyfriend, under his breath, goes, "Floor it." And I don't know what came over me, but I floored the car and drove away from the police officer. And I was like, "Did a crime." And where we were, they have stations. So all the police officer does is like, he's like, 2 people in this car, stop them at the next stop point. So I'm now panicking. We get to the next stop point, and the officer stops and he says, "Hello, madam." And I'm like, "Hello, good evening." And he looks at my license, and I think this is it. Like, my teaching career is over. I'm going to probably have to put this on my whatever background check. And he goes, "Have a lovely evening, madam." And we just drove away. So don't do what I did, because that was
Wow.
illegal. It was
The walkie-talkies weren't working that night.
Or
So
just
thank
never
goodness.
listen to the drunk passenger that you're driving home is the real message in that story.
But Hannah, the phrase that really connected with me, and I think every international teacher has felt this at least once, that says like, have I done something that's going to get me thrown out of my job and out of this country? Because it feels like it's like a yearly thing when you're in this business.
Yeah. And I was like going down the rabbit hole. But my roof is up.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow.
Wow.
But hopefully that's the last
we
one.
do. You know what? I knew that we'd need the extra time for these stories. This is fantastic. Listen, we do have another question, which is also fun and is not going to get you thrown out of any country. When the 3 of you move around, and we'll go Caitlin, Eloise, Wheezy. I feel like I've earned that.
There
I
you
can call
go.
you Wheezy now, I think.
You've earned it.
When you move from place to place, what is it that's important for you to take? Now, we're not talking about loved ones, human beings, things like that, but what is it that's important for you to feel comfortable and feel familiar when you're in a new place to take with you? Caitlin, what are 3 things that are important to you?
Well, I always take my joggers. I love running. And I also love that in a new place as well. So, it's good to meet people. 3 things. Can you come back to me?
Yeah, we'll jump up to Eloise, who was
praying.
counting on you to stall long enough for her to give her 3, but that's fine. You know each other a long time.
Throw her in the deep end. I don't care.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just Eloise, 3 things to make you feel at home.
It's actually easy, Ken, to answer because we just moved and our shipment just arrived a few weeks ago. And I was so excited. The most excited I was about our carpets because I feel like once you put your carpets down from different countries, I just feel like, exactly. I was looking at you, JP. I was like, you feel just everything is more cozy and, every carpet has a story and the carpet seller from Oman and the one from Nepal. So the carpets are important. I always travel with my dad's painting. I have a lot of them and putting them up in our house definitely makes me feel home. And then, being French and I love to cook, my crepe pan. because I feel like making crepes, it makes my family happy, but cooking relaxes me. And it brings people together too, because who doesn't like to come over for brunch and we eat crepes, you know?
Yeah,
I
when
would
you
love
get that
that.
offer from Wheezy, would you like to come over for brunch?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm already knocking at the door when that
You
phone's
turn it down.
We're already checking flights to Mozambique.
I
I
love
love
it.
that you guys called me Wheezy, by the way.
By the way, Lizzie, is that on your, I don't know if it's right or left shoulder, there is a painting on the wall. Is that one of your dad's paintings right there? Or is that a painting?
No, yeah, it's a painting. It's a Picasso, but it's a fake one, unfortunately.
Nice eye, Kent. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's her
right.
dad's painting.
Hannah,
Yeah,
when you
business isn't
move,
going that well.
when you move around, Hannah, what are 3 things that you take with you?
Okay, my biggest love other than people and my dogs that you've heard barking in the background, sorry about that,
No
is
problem.
tennis.
We love dogs here.
I'm a massive, massive tennis fan. So wherever I go, wherever I travel, I always got to have my tennis rackets. It's a great way to meet locals as well, which is very cool. Can't go anywhere.
Kent, show your Kent.
Oh yeah, it's my tennis club.
Oh, there you go.
My tennis club shirt.
No. Oh, cool. Did you watch the Australian Open? It's bad times.
I
over
did.
there.
I did. I was shocked by
Maddie
Madison
Keys.
Keys, but good for her, right?
It was funny the other day. Side note: Katie was talking to someone about business, and because she's Australian, they were asking her about the Australian Open, and she was texting me saying like, "What's been going in the Australian Open? This guy is texting me about tennis, and I don't know." So I was like, Djokovic did this amazing win against Alcaraz.
You're like tennis whisperer. The
No,
tennis whisperer.
Talk about tennis. I love tennis so much. The second thing I love almost as much is Yorkshire tea. So I just came back from the States and I brought over 600 Yorkshire tea bags with me because I'm a bit of a tea snob and I have to have the good tea. And then the other one, I had it and then I've forgotten about it. What was my third one? Nope, it's lost it. I'll come back. When Katie says hers,
We'll
come
come
to it.
back.
I had the third one.
I think Caitlin's ready to go. She gave us one.
You
She
know,
gave us one.
even
What are
with
the
Hannah
others?
doing all of that stalling, you still haven't got much more.
I'm thinking, is it Vegemite or Marmite? I think it's Vegemite, right? Vegemite
Marmite
in
for
Australia,
me.
Marmite in England.
Yeah, I used to miss Vegemite. But you know what? I'm gonna throw out 2 disclaimers. It is almost 1 a.m. here, so I think I'm not thinking
Yes.
clearly. But 2, I've had a couple of times, like when I left Malawi, we had to pretty much, because we came back to Australia thinking we were going back. So pretty much all of our stuff stayed in Malawi. So like I've had quite a few times where I've moved and not been able to bring stuff, or when we're traveling, like could only have, like when my husband and I rode our motorbikes, we'd share a book as a luxury and we'd have to lay there both waiting till the other finished the page. And then, I feel like I've got myself
Whoa,
not
reading at the
particularly
same time.
to anything, but I will say my joggers, and just to throw a second one out there, and I know it's boring, but a phone to contact home, like having WhatsApp and stuff now. I can't imagine how people did it back in the day when you'd have to wait for a letter to arrive. So I'm gonna throw that out there and say joggers and a way to reach
I
home.
reckon, Katie, if I were to gift you one, I would gift you a
Thank you.
surfboard because I feel like you always have a
That's what
surfboard.
I was
When you were on your
thinking.
motorbikes, you had surfboards with you at all times.
Yeah, we did take our surfboards everywhere with us, and
Wait a
I mean, I
second.
took
Okay,
them to
so you're on a
Malawi.
motorbike. Is it one motorbike with 2 surfboards
Carrying a book
strapped to the
and
sides?
driving the motorbike.
So two motorbikes, and
Okay.
they had surfboard racks on the side. So my husband mostly had the boards, and I had them some of the time. But yeah, they
Hannah,
pick up
what-
a bit of wind, so it's quite hard.
What was your third item, Hannah?
Okay.
Circling back around.
I remember it now. So one of the first people that I lived with in Kazakhstan is from Whitby, which is up in Yorkshire. And a tradition in Whitby is you have a lucky ducky, a lucky duck. And it's just this tiny little figurine that you're supposed to put in your house somewhere, and it's supposed to bring you luck. So the lucky ducky has been broken and glued together a few times, but we always have a lucky ducky in our house.
Lucky for everyone but the duck.
A lucky ducky.
A looky dokey. I
think
like that
that's
accent.
fantastic. All right. here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around the horn one more time for final thoughts. I'm going to start with JP Mint, and I'm going to work again with Caitlin, Wheezy, and then Hannah, and then we'll wrap this up. And what we had loved is just your final words to the audience. Say, I've had such a great time. You three are so lively and so much fun and such good friends. Thank you for joining us today. JP, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm excited to share this podcast with our listeners and viewers so that they can go check out awesomenicity.com. And if for anything to figure out if that was a salamander, a chameleon, a lizard with a curly tail, a gecko. But no, I think the idea of diving deep into lessons and becoming a better teacher, and the fact that you don't just do math, but you also think about what is inquiry-based learning or what is a good lesson plan. I think it's going to be very beneficial for our listeners and viewers to go check that out. Thank you so much. Caitlin, final thoughts?
I just wanted to thank you both for making this so fun. This is actually our first podcast that we've been on, and we're all incredibly nervous. Actually,
wow,
I had a bit of a really, but yeah, I had a little bit of a sleep before it, so I could stay up late. And I was panic googling at the last minute. I was like, how to be a good podcast guest.
I never thought of it.
It wasn't particularly helpful. It talked a lot about prepreparation, and I was like, oh no, it's too late.
Caitlin, thank you for staying.
Yeah,
That is such a pleasure.
Yeah, I'd just like to, thank you both and say it's lovely to meet you, and thanks for making this so fun.
Yeah.
Wheezy, final thoughts.
First of all, thank you so much to enter the Wheezy word. Now 4 people in the word know my name. But also, I was sitting here and I was thinking, my cheeks actually hurt from laughing so much. And I'm like, what a great gift, to end the day with so much positive energy. I mean, I know we already got the feeling from your, from the other podcasts and your website, just the way you present yourself, but you really made it super fun. And I'm just super grateful for that opportunity for us to come together and kind of share stories, but also for Hannah, Kate and I, before we kind of went down the memory lane of do you remember when we came up with a name? So it was really a gift, and I just love that you guys having this podcast for international teachers, bringing people together and spreading that joy. I mean, I'm feeling like I just went on a vacation. I'm all recharged.
And now you know why I love being a part of this team. You know, when they asked me, it's one of my favorite. I always say it's one of my favorite times of the week is when I get to see these guys.
Awesome. Oh, cool!
Right back at you.
Thank you.
Final thoughts for the evening?
Well, Wheezy took my word. I was going to say joy. It was a lot of fun. And I feel like kind of that's the goal of our lessons as well, is we just want you to have fun. You didn't really realize we're recording a podcast. We're just having a fun chat. And that's kind of mimics how Awesomenicity is. It's about having fun and engaging with other people. So I feel like there was kind of a mirroring effect of what was going on. And it was just lovely talking to you. How amazing that we can all have the same profession and we can be talking from 5 different countries. And, it's very special.
Yeah.
All right. I would like to thank our 3 very special guests, Caitlin, Hannah, Eloise, Wheezy. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
And I would also thank you very much. I'd also like to say, please check them out at Awesomenicity. They also are on LinkedIn. You can find that link below in their website. So please check them out. They have a fantastic project and 3 of the nicest people you're going to meet. So thank you very much. I would like to thank my co-host, JP Mint. You can find her at JP Mint Consulting. Thank you so much, JP Mint.
Thank you.
Not seen tonight, our other co-host, Gregory R.R. Lemoyne, M.A. His latest book is International Teaching, the Best Kept International Education, the Best Kept Secret in Education. You can find it at www.amazon.com or wherever you buy your finer books. I'm Kent the Cat Guy, and you can find me as always in room 303. See you next time.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right, don't leave yet. Let me stop the recording.